may be asking, family listeners, oh, Chris R. Is there another Chris in the movie and they wanted to distinguish? No, there's not. He is just randomly named Chris R. And he is the only one who can actually act in this film. And I'm pretty sure he wasn't even a real actor.
I think he was a literal drug dealer that accidentally walked onto set because he was giving Tommy the pills that he needed to fuel his drug-induced delusion that he is a filmmaker, writer, producer, actor.
Meet Sara and Samantha.
Two cousins obsessed with exploring the vast pop culture landscape, one recommendation at a time.
In each episode, one clueless cousin shares real-time reactions as they navigate the twists and turns of a pop culture topic selected by the other.
From travel to movies,
Little Debbie's to trashy novels.
Get ready to eavesdrop on the candid reactions and dynamic conversations you can only have with family.
This is Foreign and Familiar. Welcome to Foreign and Familiar. My name is Sara.
And I am Samantha. Sara.
Hey.
Lovely to see you, as always.
See you.
Highlight of my life. We're recording video this season, as we've shared on this pod. And in an effort to be camera ready and presentable, obviously we are doing a little bit more makeup and looking nice this season and so on and so forth. And I overlined my lips today, and it was an accident. I don't know if you can tell. I think we're probably going to minimize the clips here on social, but
I can't tell if it's any consolation.
Well, that's sweet. You know, I love my girl Kylie. I am the biggest Kylie lip kit fan, although I have kind of pulled back from that a little bit, and I'm not giving her all of my money anymore. But a lot of times the overline look obviously has been super popular over the past couple years. I don't really do it as much anymore. And truly, it was an accident today. I was doing a lip crayon, and I just decided, you know, I don't want to start over, so I'm just going to overline. So I feel like I got a little bit of a lip injection. But I'm glad to know that you can't tell that my lips are just super plush and beautiful. Anyway, speaking of my mouth, podcasting is always sweeter with a snack. And
of course,
here at Foreign and Familiar, we stand Little Debbie snack cakes, and we're going through. Our goal is to search the ends of the earth to find and taste and try every single Little Debbie variety that exists. We will be the authority.
We will. And I know it's a big task to take on, but I think we're up to the challenge.
Sara, at some point we need to think about developing a book, quite frankly. It would likely be over Little Debbie's dead body, but whatever, we can coordinate that.
It's fine. It'll work out.
So, Sara, what is our snack that we are podcasting with today?
Today we are podcasting with the apple fruit pies. These are, so I know, Sam, we've talked about the size of the Little Debbies before, how it seems like they are really kind of shrinking down the size of the traditional snack cakes and really like pushing the big packs of things. I don't think that I've ever had a fruit pie before, either the apple or the cherry, but they seemed quite small to me, but I feel like it was like the perfect bite size.
So when you say you've never had an apple pie or a fruit pie, you mean a Little Debbie one? I mean
a Little Debbie, right.
Okay.
Of course I've had a traditional apple pie before.
Well, listen, I'm invested in the best interest of our listeners to make sure. You just said you can't make it through an entire banana a couple episodes ago.
It's true. So
I think it's fair. So for me, I've never had a Little Debbie fruit pie. I am just finding out right now in the past 4 seconds when you said this that there is a cherry pie variety. So I'm very interested in that.
Yes.
But for me, I would say they are turnovers, apple turnovers, little apple pockets with a light glaze. And it is, do they say it's a mini? So they do call it a mini apple fruit pie. It is.
They do.
Okay.
It is on the box, mini apple fruit pie.
Yeah. So to me, it's an apple turnover. But yes, I would agree with you. It kind of fits in the palm of your hand. So I would say it's the perfect gas station snack. I would love to grab it and get it and eat it in the car. From a flavor profile perspective, Sara, what did you think about the mini apple fruit pie?
So on Little Debbie's website, it is described as a mixture of apple and cinnamon fruit filling inside a flaky pie crust and covered with a sweet glaze. I thought it was very flavorful. It was like a 2-bite snack. It was very small. Again, going with the mini thing. But I felt like for the ratio of crust to filling, it was a pretty solid ratio.
I was not expecting to like it. I thought it would be...
Same.
Yeah, I just thought this isn't really what Little Debbie does. It's an interesting choice in the entry. I would agree with you that apple cinnamon filling was some of the best. It's on par with any of the other apple pies that I've ever tried. And I do like the handheld, the turnover format, the glaze on top. It absolutely was a complete winner for me. And I did not expect it at all. And to your point, it's only about 2 bites, maybe 3 bites or so.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's worth the treat. And it was satisfying for that. I had mine with a cup of coffee in the morning, actually. And I thought that it was just wonderful. I would take that over, I will never take anything over a cinnamon bun, but I would take that over other pastries or croissants, or I really enjoyed it. And so now when you say it's cherry is my personal favorite fruit flavor of all time. So I am on the hunt now because apple pie I could always take or leave, and I thought this was delicious. My mind is my taste buds are literally watering thinking about a cherry pie variety of this. So I'm on the hunt. We need to figure this one out for sure.
Right. So for our family listeners, if you see Little Debbie cherry pies, let us know.
Message
on Instagram at FauxFamPod. We are on the hunt.
And we will obviously pay for them. We will pay for the shipping. And
of course.
We'll give you a shout out on the pod as well, because all of our family listeners need to get to know each other anyhow. So, but no, total win. Absolutely. Injected into my veins. Way to go. Wonderful snack to start with.
Speaking of wonderful things, Sam, let's go ahead and get into our topic for today. Oh, I'm so excited.
Sara, that makes one of us. That makes one of us that is excited. This one's going to be epic for not good reasons, I don't think. Sara, this was your pick. What are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about the drama comedy masterpiece, The Room by Tommy Wiseau.
So, again, there's a lot to unpack here.
There is.
And we're going to have to stay focused, which in such an unfocused mess, that's going to be challenging. We're going to be more focused than the filmmakers on this one to kind of dissect and talk about it.
Correct.
Sara, why did you recommend it? And why did you think that this is actually a question I have, a very pointed one for you.
I believe it.
On why you think I would enjoy it, as well as why you recommended it.
So, first of all, let me say for our family listeners, this is not a good movie. You don't watch The Room because you want to see good acting, good writing. You don't watch it for those reasons. You watch it because it is a dumpster fire of a movie. And so, Sam, one of the reasons that I recommended it is not because I thought you would enjoy it, but because I thought you would enjoy laughing at the tragedy that this movie is. And also because it has become such a cult classic. It is now something that I recommend to everybody because I feel like they need to also understand that this movie is highly sought after and it makes no sense at all.
How did you first come across The Room?
Excellent question. So I first came across The Room watching PewDiePie on YouTube talk about The Room. He claims in a video that it is his favorite movie of all time. And while I was watching him talk about it and seeing some of the clips, I realized that they had been used in memes and other things. And so finally I was like, I need to find out more about this. I'll preface this discussion by saying it is a very difficult movie to find. We had a really hard time finding it. And I was gifted the Blu-ray version of it for our anniversary this year.
Here's the thing. It's impossible to find because nobody should ever take the time out of their day and out of their schedule. I have to be honest with you, Sarah. You are my true North Star in my life. I love you so much. We start every single one of these podcasts, and I genuinely mean it when I see you and I say, it's so good to see your face. I love you so much. I'm so glad that we're doing this. This was the closest. I had to rein in everything, and we're going to get into it, of course. I was going to text you 3 words after I watched this, which was just simply going to be, I hate you. Okay? I feel like the problem with this podcast format is that things like this can happen where you weaponize the format to make me watch things. So there is so much to get in here. And I will say this, it is terrible. And I am going to enjoy talking about it because it is wild. That being said, on an initial first view, it's hard for me to laugh when I get angry. Like, I laugh at certain points, but then as it keeps going, it was such a sensory overload. Mm-hmm. And this idea that you can't even believe that this is what is on the screen in front of you, that at some point I got angry. And so I have all the points on that real quick. And then I know that we're going to have to kick it to break before we get into the room. But Sarah, what are the cultural notes, the canon notes? What do people need to know about this other than it's considered the best, worst movie of all time? It's impossible to find. What do people need to know about The Room?
Okay, so The Room was made in 2003. It is listed online as a comedy romance. I do not believe it was initially planned to be a comedy, but it has kind of turned into a comedy at this point. From what I understand, Tommy Wiseau is the writer, director, lead actor, and he also financed some of the marketing for The Room. He is a bit of a mystery. People don't know a lot about him. He is from Eastern Europe, though it's a little vague about where.
I think I read it was Poland.
Yeah, that's like a more recent thing that has come out. For a while it has just been like he's from Louisiana, and then it was he's from Eastern Europe. So for whatever reason those details were a little not clear. He made this movie with his best friend Greg Sestero, who plays Mark, that we will talk about. And Greg Sestero has since written a book about the creation of this movie called The Disaster Artist that was then turned into a movie itself, starring James Franco as Tommy Wiseau in the movie. So it is so popular that a movie has been made about the making of this movie.
So I would say I was familiar with The Disaster Artist. James Franco won a Golden Globe for Best Actor for that. I had not seen it. I will definitely check it out now. I know you have been sending me a few clips of it as well, so I think it's worth checking out. I did not realize it was based on this.
Definitely check out The Disaster Artist. But before we get into that, we definitely need to talk about The Room, which we will do when we come back from a break.
Welcome back to Foreign and Familiar. I have spent the break collecting myself, meditating, and preparing to talk about the 2003 movie The Room, which was Sarah's pick, directed by Tommy Wiseau, known as the best, worst movie of all time. Unfortunately, we do have to get into it. So Sarah, why don't you kick us off on The Room?
Alrighty, well, from the very beginning, it is very clear that Tommy Wiseau is super involved in the creation of this movie. His name pops up in the opening credits 5 or 6 times in a variety of roles. And then we are just thrown into the plot of the movie. It starts off with a bang. Johnny, which is played by Tommy Wiseau, comes home from work with a beautiful red dress for his fiancée, Lisa, who is the hottest woman that anyone has ever seen. Everybody in this movie wants her.
Styled like the Beverly Hills characters from the early 1990s. So already all of the look is dated about 15 years. If I didn't know better, I would have thought that this was shot in 1993, not 2003. But yes, Lisa's a hot piece of ass and apparently the only woman in the entirety of the town that anybody can have any type of romantic interest in.
Exactly. She's a catch. Now, before we get into like the specific plot details, I do have to say, Sam, this of course was a new watch for you and a rewatch for me. One of the things that I noticed this time through that I had not noticed before is how much of the movie is made up by people coming into their apartment and leaving their apartment. It is constant.
People just drop in whenever they want. It's Kramer at Seinfeld times a million. So there's this, I didn't know if he was a brother. Obviously, he ends up being some sort of neighbor. Denny, who comes in and is dropping in and out. The apartment is the majority of the setting for the movie. Not that you don't get a couple other things here and there. Tommy Wiseau is trying to say, well, I thought it would be interesting because a room is really about the experiences that happen in the room. So it can be good things or it can be bad things. You just didn't have the budget for more sets and everybody just has to come in to the apartment. So yes, tons of, and I think when people are coming in and coming out, what is mind blowing to me, and we're going to get into the dialogue and all that, is the amount of time that is dedicated to greeting each other. Every single character is, hey, Denny, how are you? I'm good, Tommy. How are you? Hi, Lisa. How are you? I'm good, Denny. How are you? Hey, Lisa. Like, it's just back and forth and back and forth. And it's to a mind-numbing extent of the greetings of people coming in and out. So, yes, it's a revolving door on that apartment.
It very much is. And I feel like a lot of the dialogue is written like it's a phone conversation. Like, people will be sitting next to each other and they're like, well, I have to get going now.
It's so abrupt. I have a note here that says, I'm 3 minutes and 30 seconds in, and I think the dialogue is absolutely insane in all caps and underlined.
Yes.
This movie is like a seventh grader wrote this, but I don't want to insult a seventh grader because I think I've seen better projects from middle school. I've seen better acting in middle school. I've seen better dialogue in middle school, but I digress. He comes home with a dress for Lisa, and Denny pops up and has some weird creeper thing where he says he likes to watch. Again, I don't know where the plot's going, so I think he's going to be a stalker. No, they just kind of say, oh, well, you have to leave because we want to bone.
Pretty much. And they start off with a pillow fight.
Sarah, we have the same brain. I think Cap's here. A pillow fight? Yeah, God, go ahead. I can't.
So after the pillow fight, Denny leaves. Enter the longest sex scene that has ever been filmed, I'm convinced, with the cheesiest music.
It is a knockoff of 1990s R&B music, and it is a really, really long sex scene to the point where I thought, is Sara giving me a softcore porn to watch? Because it was so long. But I have a note here that says prolonged, and then, but my main takeaway that is this is the unsexiest sex that you could ever possibly imagine.
Yes, 100%. First of all, Tommy Wiseau claims that he was like 25 when he made this movie.
No.
There's no way.
No.
There's no way.
No.
They dubbed moaning over the scene after they filmed it.
So they're just making out, but all these moans are playing. It does.
Yes.
It's like Skinamax. Do you have audio of what the song is?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I do.
Because people have to understand it's and it's the same thing in the future sex scenes. They're kissing shoulders. They're necking. It's and necking, like putting their necks on each other like the Office style. It was so unsexy. It was so unsexy. And honestly, to watch Tommy Wiseau again, prolonged, essentially dry hump her
in the wrong spot. Things were not lining up the way that they should.
Not at all. And it was 7 minutes long. It was 7 minutes long. Anyway, let's play the music, Sarah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I can't explain why I feel this way about you. It'd be a shame living in this world without you. There's nothing I wouldn't do for you. You are my fantasy dream come true. Oh.
All right. I called it on that because I couldn't listen to it anymore. I could not listen to it anymore.
Yeah, so that song is 3 minutes and 29 seconds, and I'm pretty sure they play the entire song in the movie, and that is how long the sex scene is.
And it is after the pillow fight foreplay and the dancing. And of course, at some point, there's an arbitrary shot of her titties. Absolutely. I have a note here that I said Laszlo from What We Do in the Shadows. His porn is likely better than this. Because
probably is. Vampire Tricked in Steam Room has to be much more interesting than this.
What else I would say is I have no doubt, I believe that this is exactly how Tommy Wiseau has sex in real life. I don't think there's any acting. I believe that that is the experience, and it is so embarrassing that he would commit that to film. Again, it is enough to make you... I want more for Lisa. I want more for Lisa in this moment. So we start, and they go straight to Pound Town for a prolonged time. We cut through, and then Lisa starts having a conversation with her mother after. Johnny leaves. Rightfully so, in my opinion. Lisa starts saying, I think he's boring, and I don't like him, and I don't want to be with him. And I say, girl, I cannot blame you because you had to lay there and have that sex with him. That's the only possible reaction you could have, which is how the heck do I get out of this relationship? Sorry, I had to self-edit myself because this is a family-friendly podcast. But how do I get out of this relationship? Because that sex was terrible. It was terrible. I sent you a clip. It was the unironic if the MacGruber sex scene was being done not in a comedy movie, but in reality. I do think that the MacGruber sex scene is better than this one, even if you take the comedy aspect out of it. And that's really saying something. So
yeah, I totally agree.
So she's telling her mom, I have to get out of here. And her mom is a gold digging tramp that says you have to stay with him. He has a good life with you. And I said to the screen, you do not have to sleep with him. You did not just witness what we had to witness. It is so easy to concubine out your daughter into that situation and subject her to horrific sex. Like, yes,
right.
No
way.
Suddenly,
her issues with her brother wanting to buy half of her house would have not been so bad. She
absolutely.
Would have been like, you know what? You could take it. I just had a horrific experience.
The other thing that I would say, Sarah, that I made a note on is Lisa, to me, is in her mid-20s. She lives in her own apartment. We never really get into her job. She's just a horny blonde.
She never leaves the apartment, so I'm convinced she doesn't have a job, but then she makes a comment later that makes it sound like she might, so I'm not sure.
So either way, the age of her having this conversation with her mom didn't make sense to me because at some point cut the umbilical cord.
Right.
The mom's paying the rent or anything. I thought this would have looked a lot more true if she was college age or high school age. But at some point I'm like, Lisa, you're 30 years old. Get off it. So why do you care so much what your mother thinks?
Right.
The motivations are set at the beginning. We obviously know that Lisa and Tommy are together. She's not happy and she has an unsupportive mother. So Sara, where do we go from there?
So Lisa decides that she's going to get the treatment that she so rightfully deserves. And she calls up Johnny's best friend, Mark, and asks him to come over because, again, everyone is just coming and going through this apartment all the time. Sam, did you ever have one of those spiral staircases in like any house that you lived in, or like any of your friends have like a spiral staircase?
I have been around spiral staircases, but the Chateau Flynn that I grew up with in Lancaster, Pennsylvania
does not have one.
Did not have one.
I didn't know if you did in college. I had a friend who had a spiral staircase, like from her bedroom up to the attic. I fell on that staircase, and it is not comfortable.
No.
Not at all. So Lisa seduces Mark, and they have sex on the spiral staircase.
We get another absolutely insane prolonged sex scene to a different 90s R&B song. And I have a note here that says there is no way this is legit a serious movie. There is no way. And in all caps, he kisses her shoulders, which he does. He makes out with her shoulder. It's not that he's behind her and kissing the top of her shoulders. His mouth is firmly placed on the wing of her shoulder blade, and he is kissing it for a really long time. They are kissing chins, shoulder blades, and Adam's apples. It's really like a prolonged makeout scene with all of those weird moans dubbed over it, and it's another 7 minutes.
It's crazy.
This was at the point where as I mentioned earlier, I thought, what is she's sending me a Skinamax thing. Although Skinamax is like something you can use. That. This is again, I think 7th graders have more of an anatomy of what a sexy sex scene is, you know? It's just insane.
It is not good. So after sex scene number 2, we cut to the next day. Lisa's mother comes over again, and Lisa again says that she doesn't love Johnny anymore. And Lisa's mom got her test results back, and she definitely has breast cancer. And she's dying.
Definitely.
That's how it's delivered.
It's said so casually, and there's no range of emotion. And as a viewer, if you think that that's going to be a thread that you need to pay attention to because it's going to come in, no, absolutely
it's not.
Never going to talk about it again.
No. So we find out that Johnny works at a bank, maybe, and he has saved them bundles through some of his ideas and was guaranteed a promotion, but he does not get the promotion.
He explains that away as, the computer business is so competitive, so I guess I just didn't get the promotion.
Right. It's crazy how competitive the computer business is when you work in a bank and you save them bundles.
In 2003, there aren't even cell phones in this movie.
Right. I think Mark has a cell phone because he's calling
maybe an old one.
Car. Yeah.
Anyway.
So Johnny decides to bring flowers home to Lisa because he didn't get the promotion. We have another example of the quality dialogue that is in this movie when Johnny walks into the flower shop. This scene, Sam, I think is the first clip of this movie that I saw, and it was at this point that I became obsessed with knowing more about this dumpster fire that is the room.
Hi.
Can I help you?
Yeah, can I have a dozen red roses, please?
Oh, hi, Johnny. I didn't know it was you. Here you go.
That's me. How much is it?
It'll be $18.
Here you go. Keep the change. Hi, doggy.
You're my favorite customer.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
I think it's so funny because over the course of this entire movie, where there's a nonstop selection of dumpster fires that we could pull from on the clips, you and I are both drawn to this one same clip of him picking up the roses and talking to the doggy. I have the same note. This was when I just knew that this was going to be wild. It's let's take the seatbelt off. It's not even buckle up. Just take the seatbelt off and just, I guess, lean into it. Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously podcasts, audio-based, there were a couple of things that our listeners probably couldn't see in that clip, and you're welcome to look it up on your own, but Johnny
put it on the pod.
Yes, Johnny walks into the flower shop wearing sunglasses, and that is why the cashier did not recognize him, because of the sunglasses. He puts the money on the counter before she finishes telling him how much it actually costs. She's like, it's $15, here you go.
And the dog, he would think, might be a customer that has a dog on a leash. Nope, there is a random pug sitting on the counter that he pets.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
No, there's no relevance to a later moment where the doggy comes back. It's just there. So Johnny takes the flowers home to Lisa, and it's at this point that they have the conversation about him not getting the promotion, about how competitive the computer business is. And Lisa decides that she wants to get Johnny trashed. So she convinces him to get drunk, and apparently he doesn't drink.
She's very slick about it. She says, you need a drink. And he says, I don't drink. And she says, well, maybe you should. And cut to Johnny getting drunk.
I think she says, if you love me, you'll drink it.
Oh, okay. Sure. Here's the thing. We then cut into another extended sex scene of unsexy sex for another 7 minutes. I have a note here. Is it literally just the first scene that they cut and played after the pillow fight and put it on?
Yes.
Is it? Is that really what it is?
It has to be, because she has the same makeup on and the same earrings, and she didn't have them on in the previous scene.
It just felt to me, I just could not. We are 25 minutes into the movie at this point, and I am not lying. 12 or 13 of it is sex scenes, and okay, whatever, but it is the worst sex scenes in the entire. This was where I started to say, and I can understand how people can think it's funny or they can move on, but this is where I started to get angry and be thinking, what is Sara doing to me here? What is this? This is what I just couldn't believe it.
I know. It's
like, sorry, this movie is so, I think what's so infuriating about it is it's incredibly repetitive.
Yes.
Lisa and her mother have this conversation about her wanting to leave Johnny and the mom saying, no, he provides for you 5 times in the movie. And the conversation goes the exact same way all 5 times. At some point, when you're editing this film, do you look at something and say, 3 conversations is probably enough? Maybe 2? No, it is a rambling. And we haven't even gotten into the craziness yet. We haven't even gotten into it. But Sara, let's take it to break, and then we're going to get into the really fun stuff.
Right. We'll give everyone some time to digest what has happened so far, and then be prepared. It'll be crazy. We are back, ready to talk more about The Room. So the next part, Sam, I think is probably the most exciting part of the movie, and I think we get to see the best actor out of the entire movie, and that is Chris R., the drug dealer. You may be asking, family listeners, oh, Chris R., is there another Chris in the movie and they wanted to distinguish? No, there's not. He is just randomly named Chris R., And he is the only one who can actually act in this film. And I'm pretty sure he wasn't even a real actor.
I think he was a literal drug dealer that accidentally walked onto set because he was giving Tommy the pills that he needed to fuel his drug-induced delusion that he is a filmmaker, writer, producer, actor, so on and so forth. And they just so happened to get the drug deal captured on film. Because now Denny, the neighbor that I don't know if he's on the spectrum or not, or it's bad acting. It's hard to tell. He did say, I like to watch them having sex earlier, and they kind of laughed it away, such as, you know, like he doesn't know what he's saying. But Chris R. has Denny on the ropes because there's some sort of drug affiliation that we never get any background on, and we never follow up on that again. It is just solely a scene for Tommy to rescue. It was weird.
Chris R. is pushing Denny around, saying that he needs his money, and thankfully, every character that we have seen so far comes up to the roof of their apartment building to rescue Denny. Lisa, Lisa's mom, Johnny, Mark, they're all there. Lisa and her mom start yelling at Denny about drugs and crying. As far as I know, Denny and Lisa's mom have never met, so it's just this old woman who's lecturing him that he's never met before.
She's just a curmudgeon. Like,
she is.
She's just bitching at people the whole time.
She is. So Johnny and Mark take Chris R. to the police so that he can be arrested. And then we get another masterful line of dialogue. Because remember, Lisa is now claiming that Johnny got drunk and hit her. But he did not.
She's really planting the seeds of deception. And spoiler alert, Lisa, your mom wouldn't care if he did hit you because she wants you to get married.
That's true. She'd be like, he's my future son-in-law and I definitely have breast cancer.
He takes care of you. He takes care of you.
Yeah. So let's hear Johnny skillfully defend himself.
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
We then lock into a conversation with four guys. It's Mark, it's Johnny, and who is the accountant, or who is the other guy?
Peter, the psychologist?
None of these guys are having the same conversation with each other.
No.
So Johnny is saying, women are crazy. Women are crazy, man. They're so crazy. And then Mark is talking about barbecue chicken and recipes. And the psychologist is talking about something else. And they're all interacting with each other. But there is a line, a little bit, or like this feeling, and it does have a little bit of a tonal shift. It kind of is just then from this point on becomes this weird, like, misogynistic undertone in the sense of Mark is sleeping with Lisa. Johnny and Mark are best friends. Mark has every opportunity for the rest of the movie to say that he's sleeping with Lisa, to own it, to do this, to do that. And instead, there are 2 or 3 prolonged scenes that essentially focus on these guys saying women are insane, right? They like it's takes the early 1990s Def Comedy Jam trope of women be shopping, you know, to like, women are crazy. What can you do with them? They're just so insane. Meanwhile, Mark is a willing participant in deceiving Johnny and saying, I just can't figure them out. I just can't figure out what's going on. You know exactly what's going on. Exactly. You're banging her while he's out of town.
Yeah. And she's been very clear about what she wants. She's not in love with Johnny anymore. She wants Mark. And he's like, I don't know. I just don't get it.
And then probably the best transition of dialogue to try to, I guess, tease some tension that Johnny might find out about Mark. Mark says, so tell me about your client. And Johnny replies, I can't tell you about my client. By the way, how's your sex life? Mark says, I'm having sex, but I can't tell you with who. And then I don't even know where to go from here. Like, sorry, Sarah.
It's fine. I got you. So for the next few minutes, there's a lot of running because Johnny and Mark like to go for runs, apparently. We don't find that out till like 45 minutes in. There's a lot of football playing, and I say that with air quotes because they're basically standing in a circle, just kind of underhand tossing the football to each other. There's no actually like football throwing.
In tuxedos.
Yes.
They just decide that they're all going to dress up because Johnny and Lisa are supposed to get married. So all these guys do a suit fitting together.
Skipping forward a little bit, I'm going to go through this really kind of quickly just because I think it's going to sound so much wilder if it's just all together. But we're going to get closer to the end where Lisa, even though she doesn't love Johnny anymore, is throwing him a surprise birthday party. So the birthday party starts. Johnny walks in. They all sing happy birthday to him. They sing, of course, the full happy birthday song, because why would they cut any of that out? And then here we go with the doors, like going in, going out again. They all go outside for some fresh air so that Mark and Lisa can have some alone time on the couch. And then some rando that we've never met before comes in and confronts them about it and says, I can't believe you're doing this. Johnny's a great guy. How could you? Then Johnny comes in, and then they all decide to go back outside again. Then Johnny just tells everyone that he and Lisa are expecting, which Lisa says she told him just to kind of make it more exciting because they'll probably have kids anyway at some point. And then suggests that they all go back inside again for cake. At this point, Mark and Lisa just like don't care anymore. And Mark and Johnny start fighting. Johnny pushes Mark right in his microphone because you can hear it on his chest. They start to fight. They break it up. Lisa and Mark just start dancing and like getting real handsy with each other.
They start making out in the middle of his birthday party with everybody around, including him.
Right.
And we get the lamest confrontation scene I've ever witnessed in my entire life.
Is it the cheep, 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 cheep that made it lame? Yeah. They start to fight again.
It's the entire thing that makes it lame. It's not the chicken chirps.
So Johnny and Mark fight again, and Johnny calls Mark a chicken and chirps at him. Johnny claims that he's fed up with this world and locks himself in the bathroom and doesn't really want to talk to anybody at the moment. So Lisa cleans up from the party, or I think her mom cleans up from the party. Somebody cleans up from the party. And then Lisa calls Mark, and Mark suddenly decides that even though Johnny's his best friend, and I quote, I don't like that creep anymore. And Lisa says, I want to be with you. And Mark says, again, I quote, sure, baby. Why don't you come on up? I want your body.
I'm just getting angry. And then let's talk a little bit. I think we mentioned the tech. Mark maybe has a cell phone, but it's 2003.
Right.
So it is dated from that perspective. Johnny comes out of the bathroom and takes his time setting up, asking her questions. Who are you on the phone with? What's going on? And you find out that he is, well, earlier in the movie, you see that he has planted. He takes 5 minutes to plant an answering machine. There's no editing. So he plays the tape back to hear both sides of the conversation. Meanwhile, if you just hear Lisa's side of the conversation, you know that she's going to meet Mark and she's stepping out on you. I don't know why you need to see Mark's side of it. You literally just saw them making out at the party. When he confronts them, he just says, Lisa, what are you doing? You're my future wife. She doesn't want to be with you, brah. Like, she does not want to be with you. So he plays the tape, and then I have a note here that says the dialogue on the tape is different than the dialogue that she had when she was on the phone with Mark. So there's not even an ounce of consistency. And at that point, the Johnny character has a light bulb go off, not the making out or the this or that, but the listening. And again, not hearing the one side of the conversation that gave you all the information you need. It was hearing the other side of the conversation that made him realize Lisa's a bitch. And I say that because she runs away and he proceeds to lazily knock things over for an extended period of time while just muttering bitch and tramp for a really long time.
So he apparently now has no friends left because Lisa and Mark are sleeping together behind his back. So he has no friends in this world. Yes, he starts to lazily trash the apartment. My favorite part of the entire movie is when he pushes all of the pictures off of the mantle and the last picture frame falls onto the camera and it just sits there.
Is this where one of the pictures in the frame is a spoon?
Yes. The spoon is in every scene, I think. It's crazy.
There's just a framed picture of a spoon. No explanation.
Yeah, there are no like personal pictures. They're all like the generic like prints that are in frames when you buy them at the store. It's like they went to Walmart or TJ Maxx and bought a bunch of frames and just left them as is in the apartment. There were probably still price tags on the back.
Probably. And I would bet that they got them at Big Lots. So not Walmart, Big Lots. Anyway, so just to wrap this up, because it's insanity, Tommy Wiseau ends up killing himself. He puts a gun in his mouth and kills himself. Immediately, Mark and Lisa come into the room because I guess I don't know. Like, at this point, let's just stop trying to make sense.
They were on the spiral stairs. This where
let's stop trying to make it make sense. And he shoots he puts the gun in his mouth, but there's a blood spot on his chest or on his abdomen that I didn't understand. Lisa kisses his forehead and she's crying and she's all upset. Meanwhile, she's been trying to get away from him for the entire movie. And then Mark, who's been banging his girlfriend and just said, I can't stand the creep, or whatever the line is, comes and kisses him and kiss him on the forehead, or maybe not, I don't know. And it's so sad as well. And then calls Lisa a bitch and leaves her alone.
And then for the last 3 minutes, it's just all of them trying to kick each other out of the apartment. Lisa's like, you need to leave. Mark is like, you need to go. Denny comes in and they're like, Denny, you need to leave. And then they decide, no, let Denny have a moment alone. And it's just them trying to kick each other out of the apartment for 3 minutes while you hear sirens getting progressively louder in the background. And it's pretty obvious it was just like they bought a generic siren sound because at the end there is a fire truck, and I'm not sure why a fire truck would be showing up at their apartment.
It's just a disaster. And also who called
911?
Mm-hmm. Why are the disaster artist is the right name for the movie on this. So that's The Room in a nutshell.
That's, I think, the best job that we could possibly do talking about The Room.
We honestly can't care more than Tommy Wiseau cares. And so, yes, this was our best attempt. And I think that we get a gold star for it, quite frankly.
I'm pretty sure I felt my Apple Watch vibrate because I think my exercise ring closed just from this conversation. Because
insanity.
All right, Sam. So for our family listeners, can you come up with a snappy 30-second review of The Room?
Snappy 30-second review is if you want to have more of an appreciation for all of the work that goes into making, let's call it just a passable movie. You should watch this movie because it is a masterclass in somebody that is convinced they have what it takes to be in Hollywood and couldn't be any further from the truth. I cannot give a plot, 30-second, so on and so forth. I cannot do that. You have to watch it for the poor production, the terrible dialogue.
Does that mean you would not recommend it to somebody else?
I don't think I would watch it again,
Mm-hmm.
but I also don't know that I wouldn't, because now that I know what it is, I think I can get over the anger and just get into the funny part of it. So would I recommend it? No. Even to watch it ironically, I don't think so, but I would absolutely talk about it in depth with anybody that I know has seen it.
Do you happen to know the Rotten Tomatoes score for this movie? Did you look it up?
I have not.
24%.
Okay, well, here's what challenges me about that is Summer Rental was 17%.
I hate to disgrace Little Debbie this way, but can you compare it to a Little Debbie?
Oh, I can, and I have the perfect selection for this.
Wonderful.
This is a raisin cream pie. This is what raisin cream pies were made for. We've been through this in the past. I was skeptical going into it. When I started to consume both the raisin cream pie and the room, I realized I had made a mistake right at the beginning. I forced it down and consumed it and am good on that and don't know that I ever need to revisit it again. How about for you?
That's a pretty fair assessment, though my only challenge is that I 100% will revisit this again.
Okay. Well, Sarah, you can't want more for people than they want for themselves.
Right. Well, that wraps up our discussion today of The Room by Tommy Wiseau.
If you have seen The Room, we would love to talk to you about it. Please let us know on Instagram or on Gmail.
Thank you for eavesdropping on us today, everyone.
And we will be back next week with another episode. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for eavesdropping on us.
If you can't get enough of the Cousin Chronicles, head over to Instagram and follow @FauxFamPod for more in-depth info and behind-the-scenes details.
Or email us at foreignfamiliarpod@gmail.com.
Foreign and Familiar is a Flynn & Flynn production.
The theme is Colorful by Allerlie von Nicolai.